Hey, beautiful people, welcome back for our third session of Dialogue at Crossroads. And I'm still so grateful and happy to be part of this journey that we actually started like a couple of weeks ago. So, this is our third conversation together. I'm Kathy, by the way, and we are joined by this wonderful woman, a new set of understanding and a new perspective that we will be hearing from. So, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Of course, and thanks for inviting me, first of all. I'm really happy to be here. My name is Dominique. I'm from Italy. I was born and raised in Milan. I am half English, so my mom's from Manchester, so I've always, since I was little, I always grew up with two different cultures. I had the possibility to spend a lot of time in England when I was younger, so I've always been, interested and fascinated about exploring the world. And after my studies, I stayed in Milan until one day I said, okay, I'm just so ready to travel, and I left to go to Australia. So I spent 11 years in Australia, long time. So it's always, it's always interesting the way I feel when I say 11 years, because it was really a big chapter of my life, and it's been really wonderful. Those 11 years have taught me a lot. I've met amazing people. I kind of left Italy with the intention of exploring without knowing what I was looking for. I was just so ready to start from scratch, challenge myself, learn new sides of myself and my personality and my mind. So it was absolutely amazing. So in those years I've of course worked mainly in operations. That's what I did mainly. I've never been able to define myself in one category, or I think I tried, and at one point I just gave up, because I thought, okay, I have different skills, I have different interests, and I've just combined all of them. So that was kind of my path in Australia, trying to combine all the interests and skills and put them together. And Australia was the perfect playground for that. So I had a lot of space and a lot of freedom to experiment and do a lot of self-work and improve myself. So from that perspective, it was absolutely great experience. So yes, I worked in operations, team building, and then that is all the positive part of it. But on the other hand, I was of course trying to find my place in Australia. Without going to too many details, of course, to stay in Australia, you need to have you need to work hard to obtain your residency, and because I didn't know what I wanted at the beginning, I was just postponing. It was, of course, a bit of a longer journey. So when I decided to stay in Australia and started the journey of the residency, I found myself with a lot of challenges, with a lot of pain, with a lot of mistakes made. And after 11 years, I found myself still fighting to be part of the community. So I felt like I gave so much, and I was still not able to feel integrated. Of course, I had a beautiful life. My friends were amazing. That was what was important to me. But I knew that if I wasn't like stable and I didn't achieve this other part of it, then of course there was no future perspective for me. So I found myself to a point where I was like, okay, I need to work harder, invest another 3 years of my life and my time to achieve this ultimate goal. But I knew that I wasn't satisfied anymore. I wasn't inspired. I love to use that word. I wasn't inspired because I felt like I gave so much, and it wasn't me anymore. So I had this gut feeling. I had this voice telling me, you need to just, go out there and experiment more. Just reset my mind and connect with myself again, because I was ignoring this voice for a long time. And this is just to give you a little bit of background as to why I'm here today. And yeah, that was the kind of moment that shaked everything and made me think, okay, I'm ready to just make a decision, which was letting it go of that chapter, 11 years. I was kind of giving up. You know, I was looking at my life in Australia. I said, this is awesome. The people will be there waiting for me. But on the other hand, I cannot ignore how I feel. And I know I need to work harder to feel inspired with myself again and reconnect. You know how you feel. So I decided to leave. So I started traveling around Southeast Asia. And first few months were a bit chaotic emotionally. There was so much beauty around me, but there was chaos inside me. So it took me a few months to just readjust and find myself on the right path. Through people, through conversations like today, that I was able to, you know, highlight how I was feeling, what was important for me. And that's how we met, Kari, you know. I'm really happy to be here. I'm grateful because I'm able every day more to really acknowledge how I feel and use the tools that I've had, you know, and throughout my journey to be able to keep this feeling alive. You know, it's I always work on my consistency. I always work on my discipline, you know, because these are the elements that I know that are important for me to really keep myself on track. It's hard to, you know, feel inspired and feel so aligned and then just fall into the same mistakes. So, but I'm really happy at the moment because, of course, I know how hard I worked. And it feels so good to, you know, be able to share all of this with people that sometimes you just met. So you realize how much you have in common, how deep is this journey, which is life. So, no, it's been absolutely amazing.
Thank you. That's such a beautiful story.
I took you on a ride.
Yes, that was a beautiful journey. The ups and downs, that's what makes everything beautiful, you know. And that's also one of the things why I would love to I invited you here in the conversation that we're having. It's because we all have different perspective according to how our experiences molded us as who we are right now, and you imparted so much about it, and the conversation that we are having here will just flow as it is, and I know that it will always bring back like the value and the lessons from each of one of us. And yeah, I'm so happy. I'm grateful that you're here. And of course, we are also joined by two wonderful human beings around us. We have here Eva and Douglas, but I would love to hear, we have been in this journey for the past 2 weeks, I feel like. And is there anything that you know, come up in your mind about the previous conversation that we had, or just share whatever thoughts? Would you like to start, Eva?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dominic, for your very inspiring story. I mean, previously we were talking about self-awareness, self-acceptance, and what popped up in my mind while you were sharing your experience about how you felt when you were living in Australia, starting from scratch, you know, finding what feels like the authentic you. I thought that while speaking of self-awareness, I guess I'm going through trying to figure out, you know, how I feel, what's me while being here. So I came to Hoi An a month and a half ago almost, after I lived here for 8 months before. And like at this point by now, I realized that there is quite a big shift between what it was like when I came here as a traveler without really having any commitments, any plans. I thought, okay, let's see how it goes. Now that I've decided to stay, and I actually moved and I rented out my apartment, and I decided that, okay, like I'm not going anywhere anymore. I'm not going to live in this mindset that, you know, I'm leaving soon. I'm not leaving, I'm staying. And it's a totally different experience. And as we talked with Kathy, it when I was traveling, I pretty much felt like, I left some part of myself behind, and that's what I wanted to do. That was very liberating, and literally as I stepped out of the plane, like when I left Russia, it has nothing to do with Russia, but a new place, it put a smile on my face. I felt like I could breathe, and I felt this liberation all the way through. Then as time came to return, my anxiety really spiked, and as I was coming back to my home city, I felt like I was returning back to so much pain. I'm still not sure what exactly that was about, but now I feel like I brought it with me. So now that I've decided to stay, I feel like I'm not really, well, maybe I'm leaving less parts of myself behind. And yeah, I guess I'm trying to become more aware about what exactly it is that it is. But it's very interesting to observe this. Yeah, I guess this is what I came with today. Like, this is what's been happening on my mind lately.
That's actually what we are talking about since we started, about self-awareness and self-acceptance, right? And we all have these different journeys that we are taking. Life always takes us everywhere. And we mentioned about inner child, the needs that we had when we were a child, if it was met or unmet by our caretakers. And for myself, with the conversations we had, it made me reflect on how did my caretakers actually made me who I am, like planted the seed, and reflecting, who I am right now. And I've been really grateful about how my mom actually imparted so much when it comes to like loving unconditionally, even if I was looking at it in the beginning as in a lens of pain because of the lack, because I was focusing in it. But then with the conversation that we had the previous time, the realizations, reflections, the insights, everything that all came together in this one beautiful space that we're having, I realized that she imparted so much. And instead of looking into the lens of pain, I tried to really look into the lens of what she actually gave me out from how she knew about life, how she navigates life based on her own journey. And she did all her best to really support me to grow as who I am, and like freedom, too much freedom, but anyway. So Douglas, I would love to hear from you. We were talking about the inner child, the unmet childhood needs that we have, anything that, and I'm so happy to have you here again as our elder in this conversation, in this space. And yeah.
Well, as I'm listening, I'm also sort of sorting out, some of the themes that have already showed up in the ways in which Dominique presented herself and her story, and Eva's picking up from her experiences and how it is different this time than before, and and yes, also sort of what we've done already in terms of looking back on the influence of our upbringing and the formative years and those who had influence on that. What I heard is language around journey, path. Okay, and for me, this is actually a very helpful way to think about what life is. Okay, and we divide it so that we have those years where we're not free to be responsible for our journey, but rather there are adults in our life who have a lot to do with what that looks like, whether it's in a safe, nurturing, cultivated environment, or whether it's in a stressful, more difficult conditions, okay? So internally, we have our relationship to ourself, and what we become aware of in terms of what that is. But most of us focus on the circumstances and the outer experiences that we're having. And particularly when we, like we have, walked away from the familiar, from the home base of our origins, our childhood, and we've become wanderers in a world that's bigger and different from what we've known before. We are engaging the outer world, the world around us, and we're influenced by the circumstances and the situations. So one of the divides in this conversation is related to our inner life and how it is that no matter where we are, we bring ourself, you know. And yes, we can leave some things behind or avoid certain things that we're maybe not ready to see or face, but we can't ultimately avoid what makes up our inner life. And self-awareness is the awareness of our inner life. Okay, and I say self-knowledge is kind of knowing who I am, and self-awareness is bringing that to the here and now. So being able to realize, what am I feeling? What's going on in my thoughts that are going to be helpful for me to live this journey, follow these paths, you know? So I do think our conversation will be sometimes on one side of that divide. What are the circumstances and the influences? And the other is, how do we know our inner life in a way that's maybe orderly or organized? And that's really what the attempt was in writing this book, to say, well, there's three primary parts to our inner life. One is emotion, one is thinking, and the other is our body. And they influence each other. When we have strong emotions, we have different thoughts. Our body is also telling us, oh, you're in danger, or you should be stressed, you know. So it's in the balance of those three things and the way that we understand the effect that they have on us that we gain the awareness to regulate. And when we regulate, then we're more consciously living from the inside out, from the person we are in the world that we're functioning. So this is the dance of life. How do we know ourselves and regulate ourselves so that we can experience the challenges of the world around us? So, yeah, and I think somewhere I read that the famous philosopher Socrates said, an unexamined life is not worth living, okay? Which means, yes, sometimes we need to go back to our early experiences to realize, how did they shape how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about life, and maybe the beliefs that came from that, or maybe even more importantly, the way in which we value who we are, okay? This is one of the most painful truths about humanity, is that we tend to diminish the value of who we are. Low self-esteem and low self-worth and self-criticism can be an unnecessary limitation in order for us to actually grow into our whole true self, our full potential. So, so yeah, where shall we pick up? Do you want to go back to some of the things we discussed last week about our childhood and the ways in which that influences us, or is there something perking about the here and now?
This space right now, I feel like it started already, how a lot of internal, not conflict, but something like boiling internally, and it's already coming up since we just started the introduction. And it's so amazing to see that every spaces that we hold, it brings up different energy and different vibe. But for me, I would love to tackle more about like reflecting or looking back into your past, how it could actually help you become who you are right now, because it seems like most of us are so not addicted, but are so like going through chasing the highs, which always see it like escaping what needs to be integrated. And I've been there myself. How important it is to really reflect, sit down, and digest everything that has happened and how it could affect you as who you are right now. You have any thoughts or that could?
So the term chasing the highs, do you relate to that, chasing the highs?
Yes.
A lot.
I guess.
Like I didn't give myself a space to get bored.
Yeah.
That was me like years ago. Just always like, okay, stimulation. Let's go here. Let's go there.
I feel like I can relate, but it's a slightly different mechanism. So I would work or study, like I would find something, like useful or productive to do. But I guess that it's, it serves a similar function. So it wasn't about stimulation. I mean, a different sort of stimulation, I guess.
Mental
Yeah.
stimulation. You're looking. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, to fill in the void. So that's very familiar.
Yeah, the mental and emotional stimulation for me has always been important, has always been there.